Hello, I am Teryluz Andreu, partner at Axialent. As 2024 comes to a close and we are preparing to welcome 2025, many of you are wondering, how can we make the culture of organization better? Actually, a study just published by Gartner says that organizational culture and leadership are the top priorities that a lot of HR organizations need to address in order to be successful and drive growth in 2025. So today we want to offer you some tips, some tricks, and some ideas on how can you start driving a more constructive, a more conscious culture in your organization. A very important part of that is the ability to make distinctions. One of the things that make culture initiatives very challenging is that culture means many different things to different people. Distinctions allow us to see things that may be invisible. And I'm going to be sharing with you a tool, or you can call it a process, that you can use to have more constructive and clear conversations about culture in your organization so you can really drive change. So whether you're an HR leader, a business leader, a manager, or just an employee, hopefully what I'm going to be sharing with you are going to help you drive a more constructive culture in your team and ignite change. So let's dive into it. In order to drive culture change, you need to understand how the system works. One of our colleagues at Axialent says that it's like being a mechanic that looks under the hood of a car. If you don't know anything about mechanics, you're going to look at the parts of the system, but you're really not going to understand how they work together. However, if you have the distinctions and understand how the system works together, you're going to be able to see it and see it with the eyes of a mechanic. You're going to be able to understand what's working, what's not working, and then what are the things that we need to shift or change in order to make it work. That's the power of distinctions. So the first step is to understand where are culture gaps. And we need to start with our north. And our north is the purpose why our organization exists. It's our business strategy, it's our vision, it's our mission as a team or as an organization. Having clarity of what is it that we want to drive and why do we exist is extremely important, because if not, we can take any journey and then we'll arrive anywhere. So having clarity of where we want to go is key, and that needs to be rooted in what is the purpose of the team or of the organization. Then we need to understand, how are we operating today? It is hard to make change if you don't know what's your starting point. So by understanding and making the distinctions of how the organization is operating today from a cultural perspective, what are the patterns of behaviors, what is valued, what is recognized, what is not, it's key in order for you to see then what is it that I need to shift. Then I need to say, well, how it should work in order for me to better improve the performance of my team, my organization, and position us better to get to where we want to go. And that's what we call the desired culture. So these three key elements, understanding our business purpose and strategy, understanding where are we today in terms of the expected patterns of behaviors and norms that drive how people interact, make decisions, communicate, and work together, and where do we need to be from a cultural perspective is key, and it's the first step of the process. A great exercise, and something that brings a lot of clarity for leaders and also for just employees in the organization, is to do an exercise that we call the from to. Is to say, based on where we are today in our current culture, and based on where we want to go in our desired culture that is in service of our business purpose and strategy, what are the key shifts that need to happen? What happens many times is that we try to do too much. When you do the from to's, what you're doing is clearly defining the gap that you want to bridge and prioritize what are those norms, values, beliefs, and behaviors that we want to shift. Once we identify what are those key gaps that we want to address in our culture in order to be of service to our organizational or team purpose and objectives, it is very tempting to jump into action. Our second step is called from gap analysis to action. However, there's an intermediate step that is key, and it's the conversations that need to happen to really understand why are we behaving in ways that may be holding us back. Hopefully in our organizations, we work with very smart, very capable people. So we always scratch our heads when very capable, very intelligent people are doing things that are not helping. And some of that may be due to very long-standing traditions, very deeply held beliefs or values that maybe were of service to us years ago, but they're not of service to us today. So we have to take the time to examine where are these actions coming from and what are the beliefs and values that may be driving them. This is what we call at Axialent the be, do, have model. Basically, our actions are the results of our beliefs and values, and we need to understand those in order for us to shift them. Now, this is a very important but very difficult conversation because when we're in it, we may not be able to see or make the distinctions of what these values and beliefs are. And this is when maybe having some external help of somebody that can see things from the outside, a facilitator, like what we do at Axialent, can really be of service. This really helps you identify what are those beliefs and values that need to shift, what the new beliefs and values should be, and that will make it easier for the behavior to really differ. Once we do the deep work of really understanding what are the values and beliefs that are driving certain behaviors in our organization that at the same time create and reinforce the culture norms, we need to move them into focused actions. And there's many different ways in which we can do this. But the important part is to really focus on the things that will matter the most and will help you create what we call the tipping point and sometimes the snowball effect. Basically, sometimes we think about culture change as big gestures or big changes. Let's change the performance management system, let's put in a new process or system, and those are important. There's three key levers for really driving a change. What we call symbols, systems, and behaviors. And symbols and systems are very important, but without the behaviors and a really big change in behaviors of the people that are more visible in the organization, they're going to fall short. So understanding that culture change happens in the small interactions that we have every day, how we make decisions, how we communicate, the conversations we have, is really what helps drive the bigger organizational change supported by the symbols and systems that are necessary for the change to happen and sustain over time. And the best way of doing this, or probably the most efficient way of doing this, is by really starting with the people that have the biggest reach, which in many cases are the leaders, the former leaders in the organization. Though you can also think about maybe some change agents, change networks, and influencers in the organization. But certainly, starting with the top, the people that have the biggest influence in creating culture is going to be key. And doing those small changes in behaviors backed by really a conscious decision on changing our mindsets and beliefs really is going to make the difference for that change to sustain over time. As we step into 2025, I encourage you to embrace the power of culture. Use the culture roadmap as a way of having powerful conversations that allow you to see those distinctions of the things that you want to preserve, that really make your culture and your organization truly unique. And what are those beliefs, what are those behaviors that you gotta evolve in order for you to be most successful in the future? We're here to support you in every step of the way. Happy 2025.